What's up?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, man. It's good to see you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for coming back. How's life?
Oh man, it is a wild ride right now. It's crazy.
Man, I don't even know where to start with the transitionary period that you're in right now. How are you processing all of it?
Well, luckily I've got a really, really long to-do list, and so I can stay very, very busy while not necessarily, I mean, at the same time, also trying to make these pockets for like moments to really kind of let everything kind of soak in and like connect with people and that kind of stuff on the way toward the next step. So, but it's been cool.
Does it feel, because I mean, you've been doing comedy for like 13 years?
It'll be 16 this year.
16.
Yeah.
Okay, 16 years. And how long was that in Albuquerque?
So I started in Albuquerque and I did it for 5 years, then 5 years in New York, and then now this will be like, it'll be like 5.5 years back in Albuquerque, and then back to New York. So
10 years, let's say 11.
Yeah.
11 years in Albuquerque, started a club. I couldn't even imagine because stand-up is such a huge part of your life.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're outside of your marriage and what other personal things you do on a day-to-day basis, your life is just stand-up.
Yeah.
So
everything I've gotten in my life has been because of stand-up. Like I met Kelly because I moved to New York for stand-up. So like everything about everything is because. So I'm very grateful to it, and I feel like I want to contribute to it and be part of it and take care of it and take care of the people who do it, that kind of stuff. So.
And had you run your own business before you started Dry Heat?
I did a lemonade stand when I was 8.
Hey, that's commerce.
Yeah.
That's food safety.
Yeah.
Probably dealing with homeless at some point. But
super, yeah, lots of marketing.
Yeah.
It was a lot. No, but I really love entrepreneurship stuff. Like I love a business book. I love Gary Vaynerchuk. I love like all that stuff. I love all that stuff. I will watch all of it on YouTube. I will listen to every podcast about it. I probably have signed up for too many email lists about that kind of stuff. And so when it got time to like jump in and actually really try it out, because when you do stand up, you kind of are your own business anyway.
Let me bring that mic a little bit closer.
I can also sit closer to it. When you do comedy, you're kind of your own business anyway. So I tried to learn all that stuff while I was doing it too. But then to actually have like a brick and mortar space and that kind of stuff, and like learning how to, I don't know, all the other stuff that goes with it. That was just a different level. The
business side of comedy is a pain in the ass.
Oh.
And I'm doing like maybe 5% of what the average, a working full-time, as I'm not a working full-time comedian, but between putting on the shows with AJ and having to coordinate all that and then paying, just everything that goes into it, I'm maybe at like the 5 to 10% threshold of what like the working comedians have to do, but even at the small level that I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And a lot of it's just asking myself, like, can these people just pull their heads out of their ass and just do what I ask?
Just go.
I'm trying to help all of us. But like, what in the business side of comedy, even before you opened the club, what were things that you ran into that you wish you knew in the beginning?
So I wish I knew not to buy merch so soon for myself. I tried to sell merch 3 months into doing comedy, I think. That was so stupid. It's a joke. I'd stopped telling that joke 4 months into comedy, and I had all these T-shirts left over that I was like,
oh. It was all based on a joke.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, for sure. And so that was an early lesson that I learned.
Was that maybe a different time though? Because now I hear from so many people that have been doing it for a while. It's like, hey, if you feel like you have something you can make merch on, do it and just have it. Because I think a lot more people, because now compared to maybe 10 years ago, people are a lot more small business oriented. People are a lot more like support the people.
Yeah.
And a lot of that comes from a myriad of places. In my opinion, it's because a lot of people have a real anti-government sentiment these days. People are a lot more, they're a lot more aware of like, hey, just Venmoing this person or giving them cash, they're not going to get taxed on it and non-taxable shit. Because I learned that early on working in the food service industry.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like being a waiter. Like I loved, or a server. Yeah. I loved getting cash tips because in the beginning I was good old boy claiming all my cash tips. And then an old school server was like, hey, man, come here. Come here, man. Let me give you a little tip here. Stop. Yeah. You're making us all look bad. Stop it. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by the amazing people over at Chopped Chili. Guys, this is personally my favorite chili brand here in the state of New Mexico, and you can find them online at choppedchilico.com. You can also find them all across the state of New Mexico at Sprouts, Albertsons, Smith's, and a bunch of other stores in Albuquerque, Santa Fe, Las Cruces. I believe they're even down in El Paso now. They sell red and green chili, of course. My personal favorite is this blend of red and green, and they also sell online frozen bags of green chili. So again, go to choppedchilico.com to get yourself some amazing chili today. Now back to the podcast. And so, but now people are like, hey, yeah, helping out people that are, whether it's starting their art or starting their business, their art. Do you feel like that has changed now, or it's like maybe it could be advantageous to some people?
I mean, at the very least, you could do things like start a spring or like a store like that where you just put the designs on stuff and people can order it. And then you just give out like a QR code for people to scan. Then who cares? You know what I mean? Like, it's only ordered as it's ordered. I just happened to have had to have 250 shirts at that time, and that was too many shirts.
Holy fuck.
That's too many shirts. Whereas if they'll print it on demand and mail it to a person's house,
Yeah.
that I'm not carrying around boxes and stuff like that either. So I think at least that on that side of it. Whether or not I think people are more supportive of comedians and artists, I felt pretty supported at the time. My shirt was bad also.
Oh, okay.
So like, that's not...
What was it based on?
I had this joke about when I found out that there was a punctuation mark that was an exclamation point and a question mark put together, and it's called an interrobang. And I thought that's and so all I did was just like give examples of what
Are you being for real?
Yeah.
Okay, I hate pulling out my phone,
No, it's good.
but like interrobang?
Interrobang, which is a hilarious word. And so for a joke, it's just funny to say bang a whole bunch of times. So I was like,
Oh my God.
yeah.
When, okay.
See, we're learning.
Why? That's probably how I think about most people is an interro. It's like a question mark and an exclamation point at the same time.
Yes.
Holy shit. And I got to say too about Funny Fiesta last year, that class you guys put together about like the beginner, like behind the scenes of things, that actually helped out a lot.
It really is kind of cool to have like just a kind of a little package of stuff that you can just, so I like those classes. I think that those are neat to get to do.
Well, it's just things you think about, but maybe you don't know how to do. Or, I mean, like for me, especially with like merch and stuff, like I'm lazy as shit as it comes to merch. But this is all donated shit. Oh, yeah, this is all not my stuff. Yeah, this is all, so because I started doing stickers really early on, and they sold, and I was like, oh, I should do this again. Never did it. And then I did it twice. And they sold both of those. Oh, I'm gonna do T-shirts, and I bought some T-shirts. But my problem is I'm lazy, and I just never sold them. So now I've got like probably 20 or 30 shirts just somewhere in a box or like in my closet somewhere of like the old brand, because I just never sold them. And I had like mess like, let me know when the shirts are coming. I was like, I will.
You betcha.
And then whoops. But no, having that type of class of like showing you how to do the things behind the scenes that could be advantageous down the road, or just it's a good beginner pad, that really helped out a lot.
Good.
Yeah. How, like, this is kind of off what we were talking about, but like organizing Funny Fiesta, the challenges behind doing that.
So, I mean, Funny Fiesta started in 2019 outside of me. I was in New York, and the Arts Hub had done this giant survey about what artists in Albuquerque needed, and they identified that comedians in particular, because we didn't have a club yet at that time, they needed a chance to network, and they needed a chance to be shown off in a central location. And so they thought, well, a festival would kind of do that for everybody, and so they put it together. And I actually got to come and headline that year. That was really, really fun. And it was almost all entirely at the Guild. And it's always been put on by a committee. So that was very, very cool. It actually convinced me and Kelly that it was like worthwhile to move back, because all the comedians were working so hard, and then it'd be cool to be able to be close back with my family and still work on everything. So that was very cool. While all that was going on, I was in New York, and I was running a comedy festival. Like, it was like 3 times a year I was running these like comedy festivals, and I helped found another comedy festival that was out there. So I was like, well, if we move back, I can hop on the committee for Funny Fiesta and maybe do some knowledge sharing, do some helping out and that kind of stuff. So that's kind of where it's been. And I've just always been a member of the committee for that.
What were the major differences between putting it on here and New York? 'Cause, I mean, every festival is different.
Yeah.
But
So the thing is, I started helping with the ones in New York, like my first year there. And I was just doing social media, like volunteering. And then the guy who did run it wanted to move away from New York, but he wanted the festivals to keep going. And so he added me on as like the boots on the ground kind of assistant to him to run those. And they were very, very different than the way that I like to even attend a festival. It was a competition that ran the length of the festival. So, and that was a very old school way of doing comedy festivals. That used to be pretty much all you did, and then only one person won money at the end. But everybody got a chance to network and be seen by some industry, that kind of stuff. And for the ones in New York, it was great because it was people from all over the country who got to come to New York for a weekend and like justify a trip like that. So
right.
Thrilled about that. But yeah, so that's so different than the way Funny Fiesta runs. And Funny Fiesta is grant funded for the most part, and all the ticket sales go back to the comedians, which is different than most festivals. And so I was as a member of that committee, I'm along for the ride about what their mission is and what they're trying to do, and I just try to make it as sweet as possible with any suggestions I can. But
I'd imagine with the mission being just getting more exposure to comedy locally and local up and coming comics.
The mission of the Funny Fiesta is to have at least 50% local comedians, and then to make sure that they have opportunities to grow in their art form, network with people from out of town, and be seen. And we have a little fourth mini little part of the mission, which is like to, if we can, uphold downtown, which is what we've done in the last couple of years. But that's not ever been mentioned out loud or anything like that. It's just my little pet project because I love downtown so much. But
well, it needs real renovation, and they're trying. They're trying to do their thing. I mean, the neon sign is nice.
Cute.
But, illuminates the homeless shit. So, kind of helps, like,
That
shows
new
you where
hotel
not
is
to
so
step.
nice. Yeah. That new hotel right next to Ex Novo makes for like a cute little
Oh, I didn't know there was a hotel down there.
Yeah, it's brand new. They just renovated Hotel Blue.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
And when the Growers Market is open, it'll be like the Growers Market, this really nice hotel, Ex Novo, like this whole little strip of like really nice views, nice things to experience, nice stuff. So.
I'm all for renovation, and I'm all for like making things new, but I just hope that Launchpad stays dirty.
Oh, yeah. Launchpad is the best, man. I worked there up until very recently doing social media for them, and they're the best. It's the best operation.
I love that. Like they're, I don't go downtown very much outside of just like stand-up stuff, and then maybe if my buddies are playing downtown, I tried to. I'm not a big go out and drinker kind of guy, and then also I just don't want to be a part of the nonsense.
Yeah.
But I just hope that Launchpad stays the same. I hope Anodyne stays the same. God bless, because there needs just to be a dimly lit pool hall where there a bunch of people can be there, but everyone's minding their own business. That's just nice.
That is nice. I do. I love Anodyne very much. But Joe's cool because he owns Launchpad, Sunshine, Moonlight, and then he works with El Rey, Inside Out, Founders. Bar Uno is in there too, and the mezzanine of the El Rey. So like all of those are their own venues that can be utilized and whatever. So but that's a big chunk of downtown. And he just has a good head on his shoulders, and he's a smart businessman, and he likes Albuquerque too, and he loves downtown. And so knowing that amount of downtown is like taken care of, at least in that way, very cool.
See, I've talked about it a little bit with AJ, but one of my goals this year or next year is, because I don't want to necessarily outgrow Safe House. They've been fucking awesome to us.
And I love that place so much.
They've been amazing to us. And they let us do whatever we want for how long we want, and it's phenomenal. But when the time comes that we have a big enough crowd that's coming on, because right now we get maybe 40 to 50. If it's a crazy night, we did the... what was it? It was the Native American Comedy Night, and we had like 70 fucking people in there. Cool. And I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" Like they're like if the comic was here by the bathroom, there were people like standing behind, around. I was like, "What the fuck?" But I would love to do a stand-up show up in the mezzanine.
Oh yeah. Because
I've been there only once, but I just like there's a bar right there that's not serving mixed drinks because I love bartenders. However, the worst heckler I've ever had is a damn shaker, a cocktail mixer. That's the worst heckler I've ever fucking had. But I would love to be able to do stand up there and kind of just like branch it, because there's like, I feel like a couple like bigger comics have done shows like that, because obviously they have like the poll and all that, but just like I'd like to put local in there.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? Put more local stuff in there. But anyway, so back to Funny Fiesta.
Oh, right.
Is the committee, is that like local comics, business owners, an amalgamation?
It's kind of a combination. So it's always performers. So that's it. But it has been over the years a mix of improvisers, sketch people, stand-up comedians, people of different ages, people of different walks of life, all this kind of stuff, trying to make it as wide of a swath of like people who could look at things as possible. And so, and then it's all volunteer. So that's also the thing too. And we always try to get more comics to like help us out with it and like jump in and like be part of things, because there's a lot of work to do. And it really comes down on the group of us that can be the ones who are like running it when it's going on. So
what do people not see that's going on behind the scenes that's having to put everything together?
yeah, it is a lot of spreadsheets and a lot of it's like we kind of like plan a wedding every year is kind of the way I put it, and that's the way I've always learned how to do it. So you start almost a year out, and then as you're going, you have to set up every step of the way, and then also have like different marketing for every step of the way. So when we're about to open up submissions, we have to have a completely different marketing strategy to reach comics to submit than the people, and because it's 50% local people, we really spend that marketing money on out-of-towners, because we want them to come to town and really enjoy a weekend in Albuquerque. So we did that, and then it's a lot of negotiating with the venues and making sure we've got those secure for the weekends. That's where it really gets to me, like a wedding. And then making sure there's good after parties, that the workshops are planned, and that the schedule. We have one meeting that we do or after submissions are closed and before we send out acceptance, where we plug everybody in, and we have to do it. It's like a 4-day thing. And so we have to figure out how many shows we can fit in that don't have too much overlap too, because we want everybody to be able to go to as much as possible, and then make sure that everybody is in a place as many times as like they fit. So that meeting is 5 hours long.
It makes sense.
Yeah. And so it's every year you just kind of like, you're like, okay, we're gonna get together on Zoom, just really make it happen.
And when you talk about grants, is that city or is that state supported grants?
Everything. So so we have federal grants, state grants, city grants. We have some sponsors, but most of our sponsors up until I think this year, we're trying to get some more monetary sponsors. But most of the sponsors we had do a lot of in-kind stuff. So we'll have a print sponsor that'll do our printing for us. We'll have, like Oni was an in-kind sponsor, and they sponsored us with just so much food from one of the after parties. And we do a lot of that kind of stuff, because there's a lot of different ways that people can show up and help us, and a lot of different kinds of need that we have. And so, yeah, and that tends to be the stuff that I'm actually better at. I can talk to the guy at Oni and be like, you got some food for us? Come on, man, please, we're starving. Or I can talk to Echoes and be like, can we have an after party here? Is that okay? Like, I know how to, I can talk with people about that, but I have a really hard time going to people and being like, can I have some money? Like, I'm so but the grants definitely help with that. And that's all Jeff. Like, that's all the real, like, arts hub part of it. Like, the nonprofit that's running the whole thing is through Jeff being an incredible grant writer and, like, making sure that we're taken care of in that way. So.
Because I just imagine, like, I can't even imagine. No, me working with the VA, it is hard to get money from the government. Despite what people may think, it is very challenging to get. So how far out are you guys planning? Like, what federal grants to get? What city grants to get?
So the cool thing is like, because Arts Hub itself as a nonprofit is just solely dedicated to making sure that the artists here in Albuquerque have some ways to learn about their own economic needs and how to highlight those, or like just to grow in their careers or something like that. Jeff writes grants all year long. As they open up, he's writing them for Arts Hub. But he uses the demographic information that we get from Funny Fiesta, the fact that we have so much audience data and stuff about like how many people come to this and why it's important. He can write like grants that are like 2 years down the road or 2 years of funding even, because we know it's going to happen every single year. And so we're able to keep it. But he's just like constantly like on those websites that are like Grant Watch or whatever. And like,
so he's just the subject matter expert and all that. And when you're talking like demographics, what kind of demographics are they looking at?
So it depends. I mean, up until, well, because of our mission being 50% New Mexico artists, like that part of it is a big one, because they want to make sure that we're like supporting the art scene here if they're an arts grant.
Right.
That's a big one. It depends on the grant, really. So that's why when people apply to the festival, we do ask them things like what zip code they live in, like their background, and like some of their other, you know, identity-based stuff. Just because if it helped us get a grant, we would include that information. And then it just always, you know.
No, yeah, whatever ammunition you have to be able to justify getting money. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. I will say, when I was applying for the Funny Fiesta, I did chuckle when I was like, am I gay? I don't think I'm gay. No. It's just, all right. I'm sure there's a reason.
I'm sure I would love the idea of there being a comedian out there who's like, can't finish the application because they're like, I can't face this about myself right now. I'm going to be honest.
How much am I going to get booked?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Does it mean one more show? Perhaps.
Yeah.
That's
usually,
right.
yeah.
As long as you don't videotape it, sure, why not?
That's the only one we videotape. But
That's funny. I did not know that. I mean, it makes sense that it take years in advance, but it's good to have that guy that's running the show that knows exactly what he's doing when it comes to, because again, just federal funding and shit like that and then everything down is just fucking impossible. And I mean, you know that as well as anybody else. I mean, last time you were on, we were talking about your liquor license stuff.
Yeah.
I had no idea that's what it took to get a liquor, just from the monetary stuff. Get the fuck out of here.
yeah, that stuff's wild.
No, it's insane. So you're planning everything. You get all the shows put together. My question is the marketing, because like I saw like some ads for Funny Fiesta, but I don't know how much of that is because my algorithm is now so curated to that, because that's such a heavy part of my life now. What is, generally speaking, and you can go to specifics if you want, but like, what is the marketing strategy for that? Because I want to say like every venue that I went to was more packed out for that than I have ever seen it for. Like, I mean, what the fuck is it called? Rivapalooza over at Inside Out. That was in the middle of the day. It was hot as fuck.
It really was.
And everyone, I mean, you couldn't even huddle in the shade because there was no shades.
Everyone kept moving a little.
Yeah, people were trying to like huddle, but just didn't. It was a great time. But like it just, what's it called? Because for you to understand what Inside Out is, that venue that we had it there, because I want to say the original building burned down, right?
The roof burned off.
The roof burned off, right? And they're like, you know what? Fuck it. It's an outdoor venue with a door. Like, yeah, we're just gonna do that, and it's a great venue.
It is.
Especially at night. It's a great venue.
I love it at night. Yeah.
But it's in the middle of the day. It's hot as shit. But there's a ton of people there.
Yeah.
So what's the marketing strategy?
Sure. So this is all Kelly. Kelly is on the committee also, and she usually takes over the marketing because that's what she does in her day job. She's a marketing person. But we have a couple of different prongs, and a lot of our the grant money goes toward that kind of stuff. So part of the reason why I think some people didn't see a lot of ads is because we had them targeted in a little bit of a different way. Because the last thing that we need anybody to be doing, I do not need comedians liking or clicking on ads for this festival, because that costs us money. So when they're trying to show support,
this might be like minute details, but like, because I get questions about this all the time, like, how do I run a Google ad? And I'm like, dude, I don't know. I've done it, and all the time, it feels like you're just throwing money down a pit.
Yeah, Google ads aren't really,
and just trusting the whatever to take care of it.
If you've got good SEO on your website, you don't need Google ads. But doing it on meta stuff like Facebook and Instagram, like that's where you would really want to kind of focus, because you can do it by zip code, which is another reason why you maybe only saw it sometimes, is because especially if we run an ad for Dry Heat, we'll do the same thing too, but we'll run the ad for the zip codes that the venue that the show is in, and that sandwich it on either side. So for almost all of the festival last year, all of the festival last year was in downtown. So we did 87102, because that's downtown, and then we did 87106 and 87. it was like North Alley and Nob Hill were also the other two that we were going for because our data from Hold My Ticket, which is a really great ticketing site, and they show you so much of where your people are coming from. We were seeing that we were pulling from those.
So it's better. It's better than Eventbrite.
Oh yes, much better than Eventbrite. Their fee structure is completely different than Eventbrite's, and I have never seen or gotten any sort of survey data in Albuquerque that people have sought out an event by searching on Eventbrite. And I know people who will go to Hold My Ticket and see what's going on in town.
No shit, because the reason I ask is we did, what was it for? It was for, I want to say it was for Safe Houses last time. AJ set up an Eventbrite, and we got, and he just put it as like a free thing. And we got, I think, maybe like 6 or 7 tickets off of that. But I mean, I don't know if he got an actual like demographic pull from it or a data pull from it. But to know that Hold My Ticket does that,
yeah, it's really nice.
I'm gonna start using that.
And I mean, whenever I've used Eventbrite in the past, because we did switch. We started with Hold My Ticket, we switched to Eventbrite at Dry Heat, and then we switched back to Hold My Ticket because Eventbrite changed their fee structure, and it wasn't going to help us at all. So Eventbrite is good if you can get people, especially if it's a free show, if you can get people to sign up for it because it's good for your email list. So what people in New York used to do, and people in New York still use Eventbrite often, is they'll do a free show, but they'll tell people like RSVP with Eventbrite right now, and we'll give away something at the show. And then so everybody's kind of like signing up for like a raffle basically, but you get all of those emails, and all of those emails, even if those people don't show up, are now on your email list, and it's growing, and you're able to like add them and write to them every time. I'm part of a show that I went to one time in Brooklyn that I got my ticket on Eventbrite. I'm on their email list. And every 3 to 4 weeks, they'll be like, congratulations, you won free tickets to the show this Friday. And I'm like, no, I didn't. This is a free show.
Right. Yeah.
No, I didn't. So, but there, you could do stuff like that too, because then you leverage. The best part about building your email list is that those are your people. And there's nothing that Facebook can take away from you because you have that list of people that you can, even if MailChimp or whatever stops existing, you still have the list, you have the spreadsheet of those people, and you just put them in the next thing, or you write to them and say, follow us over here or whatever. And so you can lose followers because they've just decided like, we don't do that anymore. Then everything that you worked for when it comes to social media is gone, but you've got those people and their email addresses.
And people actually, and I'm learning this too, like, because friends that I have that run shows like in Austin and shit, like they use email lists a lot. And that shocked me because I never check my email. I mean, no, I take that back. I check my email when I'm emailing comedy clubs and they don't email me back. I check it then.
Yeah, sure.
I refresh my email then. But other than that, I'm just like, eh.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice because at least the email comes straight to your phone. So, like, you have access to somebody's, like, immediate attention with an email. They have to open an app to come and see you on, like, social media stuff, so. Right,
and then so you get your marketing knocked out. You have the plans ready for Funny Fiesta. And let's just take, like, 2024 as an example. What are you looking at from the years prior to help make the next one better?
We do a survey at the end of both the audience and the performers, and they're not, I mean, I wish more people would take them, because we really, I mean, we take it, like, Bible serious. Like, we're like, well, one person said that the bathrooms at one venue didn't have enough mints. So we shouldn't go back.
Show me an Albuquerque bathroom downtown that has mints.
We used to do it at Dry Heat on a little cart. We loved it. So that was, yeah. So those kind of things, we take that stuff very, very seriously, especially from the other comedians and stuff too. So that's a big part of it. The data that comes from our ticket sales and all that stuff is a big part of it. Anecdotal stuff that we saw, or like where there was fits. Like if people are emotional for some reason during the festival, we're like, okay, maybe we don't do that this time. But like those kind of things. So
an emotional fit.
Can you imagine?
Well, I can for sure. Okay, to be completely honest with you, I don't understand just emotional bullshit around making jokes. I genuinely don't get it. I mean, I get that humans are humans and people have issues with each other. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. We're all human. But at the end of the day, you're grabbing a mic for, if you're lucky, 10 minutes to tell your dick jokes, and your pedophile jokes and your my wife left me jokes or my baby sucks jokes. Calm the fuck down.
Yeah.
What I'm curious about too is when you're looking at tapes for people.
Yeah.
What makes a good tape?
Oh, man, this is such a great question. This is my favorite question to answer. And it's not only my answer that comes out of me when I say this, because I have done this for other festivals. I've done this with people who run other festivals. This question gets asked at every festival. And their answer is the most consistent answer, I think, of anything I've seen in comedy ever. It is a very, very strong laugh within your first minute is the absolute must-have of a good tape. And I would say that is shrinking. I would say you probably need to have a really, really good first laugh in your first 30 seconds. But the first minute, at least, there. So that they will keep watching.
Right.
There are some times where people won't even watch past that 1 minute because there's so many submissions to things. But ideally, they watch your whole tape. So then you also want a really strong ending also. It's nice if it's a nice visual, like if you're using a nice camera, that's cool. What really matters is the audio. And it's got to have the laughs in it too.
It's got to have that.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, that's pretty perfect. Yeah.
The local crackhead, you got to have that.
Got to have that in there. But yeah, so if it's just you on your lapel and that sounds like you're bombing, even though the crowd is there, that's not going to do it. You need to have the laughs so they can count and listen to how much you are smashing.
I was at a club recently and they sent me footage and the footage with the video was immaculate. Beautiful. Everything set, ready to go. And the audio of the crowd was not good. No. And then, so what was funny was one of the people on the show had brought their own camera with like a good audio setup and everything. We were like, fuck yeah, we've got the direct one. So we thought we were smart. And we were like, yeah, we're going to like get a side angle and we're going to like
totally
double
mix these up.
Yeah, like double angle, whatever. This is going to be fantastic. And we put the camera next to a fucking pillar.
No.
Like a bunch of idiots.
No.
And we just didn't catch it. And so like, he sent me the footage and he's like, yeah, the footage is great. But I was like, okay, you didn't look at it. God bless you. You're a nice guy. Bob, you didn't look at it. I'm watching it and the left side of the room sounds like they love me. And then there's just nothing on the right side of the room. I'm like, I can't even splice this together.
No.
This is rough.
Oh, that's another one that's really important for tape. I mean, it's cool if you're going to put it for content to have different camera angles. But if you're submitting a tape for a festival, do not cut it. It has to be one long set, the entire set from beginning to end.
Why is that?
Because you could potentially have done it multiple times. We're not getting what you'll do when you're in the festival. Even if you'll do different jokes, we're not seeing how you are in a set, and it has to be the whole thing all the way through.
It gives the illusion of maybe this is different nights put together to make one good tape. This is an unreliable narrator. Maybe we have to move on to it. Interesting.
And when people try to sweeten laughter and stuff, you can totally tell. You can totally tell that also. And so you just try to capture a good set. That's it. That's so. Yeah.
You just get a tape where they just pronunciate the laughter way too high, and it just goes back down.
There's always a weird clipping that happens with that. It's weird. Nobody ever thinks to double. Anyway, so but also that's not a trick. Don't do it. Anyway, also people will add in laugh tracks from like
sitcoms.
Yeah. I've seen garbage tapes in my time, and that was by far the worst. Like they sound like full I Love Lucy, like, and you're like. That's not even a...
Oof.
Don't do that. That's an important one. So do get some good audio.
Yeah.
Do capture a whole set from beginning to end, and do make sure you have a laugh in your first minute, and that will forgive 100 gazillion other sins. You could be a little blobby in the background. The good thing about stand-up is all you're doing is standing up. So unless you have like prop comedy or you're wearing a weird outfit or something like that, the visual is not that important, but the audio is.
Right, because there's this, I mean, I get told by a lot of people where it's like, it's so important to have obviously a good tape with a good set, but like to have like a big logo behind you of the club, like whether it's Casadas or it's Hyenas or,
And that's easier now that everybody's got those little neon signs, which is
right.
pretty cool.
So, but does that have like any real weight?
No, I mean, what helps me is like if you put it in the description of the video, because almost all festivals want you to send a YouTube video. Unlisted, do it unlisted. Unless they ask for it public, and then just follow the directions. Anyway, so if you just say like your name, where it was at, and the year that you recorded it, that's enough for me. And so like I know that there's some really good rooms out there that don't have a logo on it, but if they say what it is, like if it's the Helium in like Portland or whatever like that, that I know that that's a good room or whatever. And so that does help.
So it shouldn't be from a bar show, is what you're saying.
It would be fine if it was from a bar show, if you were absolutely killing. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's okay if you're killing, but it sounds nicer in a club because there's not any, like, tink, 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 like bottles clanking around and there's no shakers and, like, that's stuff you hate. So that would be fine. I mean, if you got a really good tape from Safe House, that would be a great place. That would be great. It would totally work because all that really matters is the stuff that I told you. But the logos help. I mean, there are times where I'll just, like, see that somebody performed at the Fort in Fort Collins, and I'll be like, oh, I'm strapped in for this one. I know this is going to be a quality one because I know that David runs a really great room, and I know that the people who get up on those stages are good performers.
Is the recency of the tape relevant?
Yes. So it should be within the last year.
Okay.
But that's why I say put the year on it. You don't have to put like December 2012, which if you give me a tape that's from December 2012, I'm going to be like, well, I wonder what they've done since then, you know? But like, or anybody would do that. But so the year, it should be within the year. And I think when you apply for Just for Laughs, they specify that it has to be from within the last 12 months. And so that's just a good habit to get into for like the big festivals.
Right. No, that makes sense. And then, so, because again, like we were saying before we started, this is going to come out on the 24th. And so the last day of Dry Heat is the 29th.
Yeah. Running
a small business.
Yeah.
And doing, I mean, because Dry Heat was in totality 2.5 years.
Yeah, it'll be, I think we had our third year last June.
I would say
3.5.
3.5 years,
yeah.
right? That's because it was 2022-ish when it started. When you're running your own small business, because I mean, not only is it a small business, but you're in 2 different venues during this time. What were in that first venue? What were some initial issues you ran into that you didn't expect, and then what led to the change to the box?
Yeah, cool. This is a great question because I this is one of my favorite things that happened in the history of Dry Heat. So part of the reason why we knew we could do Dry Heat was because they were doing those downtown storefront activation grants. So to get grant money from the city and to immediately use it to create more comedy, to support comedians, that kind of stuff, we were like, hell yeah. Also, Kelly and I live downtown, so we walk around a lot. This yoga studio had just closed. We were like,
it was a yoga studio.
Yeah, it was a yoga studio. And so
yoga studio had a like, what's it called, a box office?
No, we built that. I mean, oh no, yes, everything on that strip mall has a little nook.
That's funny.
So even the barbershop next door has somebody like in the nook who cuts hair. It's like where their chair is. So, but and then I think the ice cream spot uses it as like a selfie spot where you can like, take a picture with your ice cream.
That makes sense.
Everybody uses theirs their own way. Ours, it just happened to be an absolute perfect box office, like to walk in that way and just be like, hi. So then my biggest thing about that space was that the ceilings were too high. And for comedy, you want it like little. And so that's why we bought those gigundo curtains, because the curtains soaked up a lot of the noise, and having people in their clothes and that kind of stuff sitting in seats soaked up a lot of the noise too. And so that was a thing that we were constantly kind of battling. Like, it sounds echoey, and I was getting real nitpicky about it.
Well, okay, can you go into that a little bit? Mm-hmm. Like, what makes a good comedy club, and why is it important for it to all be packed in?
Oh, man.
I mean, I just went to Hyenas last weekend, and it is just...
You are friends with everybody.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to be close with the people that you're seeing the show with, because that's the quickest way to go from being an individual who's watching something to a crowd. Like there's like a whole bunch of like sociological reasons why that's the case, but you just melt into a shared experience the closer you are to other people who are having a good time. So you want everybody as close to each other as possible, which was why it was cool that we had those weird theater seats, because it was like, you have to. Oh, you must sit so
like
close
the baseball style,
Then we wanted the stage to be close to people too, because that also helps. If there's like if it's an intimate show and you're seeing these people right here, like that makes things easier for you to kind of lock in with the person and make eye contact with them. So all that, we took care of so much of like the nonverbal stuff and what we wanted to see and what we would want a club to have. And we completely forgot about things like knowing who your neighbors are and like being cool with them. We thought we were being so cool with our neighbors and they hated us. And so the barbershop on one side and whoever their friend was, and it changed out often, who wanted to run the like juice spot on the other side of us. They just were not locked into what we were doing.
Well, the barbershop wasn't exactly quiet.
That was the thing. So like we love to give people assumed positive intent and think that like they were just having a good time. They wanted to play some music and it just led through. On days where I feel a little bit lower about myself and what we did or whatever, I start to think maybe they were doing it on purpose and they were like trying to like chase us out. And that's fine. Because that's okay. Also, we signed a 2-year lease because that was part of how we got the grant from the city. And our lease was coming up to be renewed. And I knew that our rent was going to be like jacked up pretty high, and that without new grant money coming in, because this was going to be our 3rd year, had to be the year that we did it all just based on business.
As I was going to say, the grant money was going towards the rent, I'd imagine, right?
Mostly, honestly, it really went to like getting us set up, and then we made enough from ticket sales to get the comedians paid and to get the rent paid for. But that's not true. That's not true. We almost in every single situation always prioritized making sure the comedians got paid out of the ticket money. And me and Kelly both had full-time jobs that we were doing on top of this. And so we supplemented all rent, utilities, and everything by just the money we were making by working during the day.
Holy fuck.
There has never been a time. Never, ever, even after we moved to the bottom, never has Dry Heat been a profit-driven business at all.
Well, it's tough because what was it? It's like, I've heard from people that have run restaurants where like the first 3 years you have to expect to not make money.
At all.
And it's just you're keeping the lights on, paying staff, and keeping the place afloat. Which is you. I mean, because is it public information how much the grants were?
Yeah, no, you can see that anywhere, and I'll tell you right now. We
Yeah.
got $15,000 one year and $15,000 the second year.
Okay.
And
That money runs quick.
it does. It lasted us about 6 months-ish to like kind of run things, and then
fuck.
running One Liner Madness was kind of like a fundraiser for Dry Heat, basically. It kept the lights on for the next like 4 months until we got the second part of grant money, and then we did the same thing the next year too.
And One Liner Madness is from a business perspective, genius idea.
Yeah, Emily
because
is brilliant.
you have fun doing it. I had fun. I bombed my ass off, but I had fun doing it.
Yeah.
I had fun doing it. It was a fun watch. But I mean, if you're booking, let's just do a round number and say 60 comics, and each comic brings at least one person. Not only do you have a packed out room, you have at least 60 sold tickets.
Yeah.
If they bring 2 people, even better, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So it's from a business perspective, absolutely fucking genius.
Yeah.
But $15,000 in 6 months, huh? Holy fuck! What were if you don't mind me asking, what were they charging you for rent?
We paid $14.50 each month for rent, which I mean for the space our size, with the history of the neighborhood before when it was at its best, I mean we thought it was fair.
I was gonna say that's lower than I thought it was gonna be.
And currently, if you wanted to rent that space, it goes for like $1,700 something or whatever. And I was like, that would have really pushed us to.
Yeah.
I don't know if we could have. So we were actually. I mean, after 2 years, we knew. I mean, because Sadas had just opened, and we knew Hyenas was coming because Hyenas had been meant to have been coming for a while.
Is coming.
I know, but they're here now.
They're here now.
And
but,
so but we knew that, and so we kind of were like, well, okay, 2 years is cool. We filled a gap that we wanted to fill. We're good. And then really, our staff were the ones that were just like, try to stay open, please try. And I was like, I know, okay. And so that's when we approached Doug and Kristen about like partnering with them and
that's
just
the box.
over. Yeah. And so and that's cool. I mean, if we had closed, then we wouldn't have gotten to like have Mark Maron and like all these other things that were very cool that we got to experience. And that we wouldn't have gotten to experience if we just had flat out closed.
Right. That was Mark Maron is. I know he gets a lot of shit these days, but insane how good that guy is.
Yeah.
Like even for me, like it's very challenging to offend me. Like it's extremely challenging to offend me. But he has that joke about Jesus and where I don't want to ruin his joke, but you know what I'm talking about. And I was like, that's fucked up, but that's so real. I just died. Like, seeing him, I was insane. And then when Jim Jeffries came through, that was incredible. And I can cut this out if you want me to, but you showed me the DM that he sent you.
Yeah.
How humble
the most amazing
that dude is.
Yeah.
He didn't even say like, I'm not that I expect anyone to be like, yeah, you know who I am. Let me do a set. It's like, hi, I'm a comedian based out of LA, and da 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 da. Can I do it? Yeah, you can do a set.
Yeah, come on through. Yeah, come on by. Yeah, he sent me a DM, and then Mark was also so kind, and he sent me an email, and the email was like, hey, I'm a comedian from Albuquerque, and I'm coming through to visit. Do you mind if I hop on? And we were like, yeah, you can come through.
I don't know. You're a local.
Yeah.
Let me see if
So
that's incredible. I told my buddy about it, because that just loves stand up, and I was like, hey, so you're not gonna believe me, but
I'm not gonna believe me. That was the thing.
Yeah, I was like, look, I'm not supposed to say anything, but like, I know you love stand up. This guy's coming in. I swear to you. He's like, no, he's not. I'm like, I swear. And yeah, that's just a crazy. I was so close to the stage, like I saw his stubble.
Yeah.
Like that's in fucking crazy night. Anyway, so time comes up, move over to the box, and you start a stand-up shop there, and that was a great venue.
It's nice. I mean, yeah,
it was a great venue. What were like the outside of the obvious of like having a bigger space, because like the original Dry Heat, I mean, not because there really wasn't a whole lot of room for standing room.
No, and we weren't supposed to have it because we were at capacity with even the seats we had. So it was like,
so it was like what, 60 people, 48 people in the seats. Okay, so outside of just having like a bigger room and having that being an obvious advantage, what were the perceived advantages of moving over to the box?
There are so many. There's so many. The bathrooms are nicer. Like that alone, it's like such a win. And then if you park in the parking structure behind it, you can get 2 hours of free validated parking, which I thought is really nice because a big complaint for a long time in downtown has been that parking costs money and it's tough. It's tough to find. We like Doug and Kristen and we love the box, and I think it's a very interesting experiment. And like there's places like the Fallout Theater in Austin and like other things like that where they have the Rise Theater in Denver and those kind of things where they have stand-up and improv happening in the same spot and they're treated equally with equal respect. And I like when that happens because it kind of means that you can cross-pollinate and make cool things happen. And so that was a big benefit. When I started producing, before I moved to New York, I had a weekly show that was in the box, and we did it after their shows were done. We started at 10:30 and we got out at midnight. And those were always really fun, and so I knew the potential for fun was definitely in there. And then also, I love cabaret tables and like having a little table instead of it being the theater seats, having the little tables with the little chairs and being able to set it up exactly how we want it for exactly how many people are going to be there is such a nice thing to get to do for a space like that. And so all of that was like win. I loved it. And even still, I mean, even up until our last show, which since this comes out on the 24th is this weekend, is great. It's going to be, we get to use, we got to bring over the projection screen and the projector. Their tech setup is so much fancier and more modular than ours was. Ours was like lights on and lights off. Like that was all we could do. We could never isolate or anything like that.
Well, that is the beauty of stand-up. At a bare minimum, just get a microphone and a speaker.
Yeah.
And hope the rest falls together. Now, you need a lot more than that. And that's something that I'm learning with. And again, just Safe House has been great to us. Like the first couple of shows, we kind of just like set up shop. And they have a great sound system in there.
They do.
But, we kind of just set up shop and did things. And I was like, oh, okay, wait a minute. All right. Okay, what if we just like turned off the TVs?
Yeah. Hey.
What if we dim the lights a little bit?
Yeah.
Can I bring my spotlight?
Yes.
I have a light.
Oh, God, yes.
What if we do that?
Yeah.
Well, because like, I'm not going to say where, but we were doing a show end of last year. And they had a new, because usually the manager is there is great, works with us, whatever. It's not Safe House, different place.
No, yes.
And they had a guy stepping in so the manager can be there, whatever. And I was telling AJ, I was like, hey man, can you go let him know? Because he's like the main point of contact. So I don't want to mess anything. And hey, can you just go let him know we're gonna start the show? Just have him turn on the lights, turn off the TVs, whatever. And he, in like maybe 5-10 minutes goes by, I'm like, hey man, what the fuck is up? Can you go talk to him? They're not listening to me.
Oh, man.
And I'm like, all right, that's fine. So I go find him. I'm like, hey, hey, sir, when you get a chance, can you just turn off the TVs? He goes, why?
Yeah.
And I was like, I was like taken back, And I was like, oh, well, just, and that I probably came off like a little fucking snarky. I'll be honest. But I tried to be professional. I was like, oh, just, so the audience can pay attention to the comics. He was asked about the TVs. Yes. He goes, oh, well, we've never done that for any other venue or for any other event, but fine. And I was like, okay, well, thank you very much, man. I really appreciate it. Okay,
Yes.
does it, whatever. We're going through the show. AJ's hosting, and the sound just isn't like loud enough. Like you can tell, you know what I mean? Because it's like, and the way it was set up, it was like the people on the ends couldn't really hear. And you know how it is. If people don't hear, they talk over you, sound travels, whatever. And I was like, fuck. All right, we'll wait for him to get done. I'll talk to him. He gets done. Tyler goes up. I'm like, hey man, how'd you feel about the sound? I think we need to like turn up a little bit. And as we're saying that, Tyler goes, hey, can y'all hear me? And I'm like, oh, fuck. So I go talk to the guy, and I couldn't find him, but I asked one of the other bartenders, like, hey, when you get a chance, could you just tell the guy to knock it up a little bit? He's like, yeah, no problem. Nothing changes. And then he goes, hey, can I go, the same guy. And I'm like, hey, do you think, like, did you talk to him? He goes, you need to go talk to him. I'm like, oh, fuck. So I go find the guy. I'm like, hey, man, hey, sir, like, real quick, could we just, and he stopped me. He goes, come with me. And I'm like, okay. And we go, and he goes, listen, okay, this is where all the audio is. It is turned up loud enough. The rest of the audio interface is downstairs, and I'm not trained on that. And frankly, I don't feel comfortable doing it. And honestly, your sound is loud enough. And then he like steps up to me.
Oh God.
Yeah, and I was like, all right, you know what, man? No, I appreciate you. Like, thank you. I just walked away. I'm not going to fight the guy who's like in charge of the venue where they're letting us do a free stand-up comedy show. Like, this is silly. Like, this is dumb. But yeah, being able to control all of that and be decisively in control of your own venue like that is such, like, you don't really understand. I don't blame people, but you don't really understand what goes into making a comedy show work right until you're actually like, oh, fuck, we should do this. Yeah. Next time we need to do that. This and that and the other thing. That's why now with Safe House, like, God bless them. We just do whatever the fuck we want. The only annoyance that I have is that damn mirror.
Oh,
right. Because the mirror, it's fine for an open mic because I don't have a light. Yeah. But then every time, and I just feel so bad because when they set up the tables, people are having their drinks, they're having a good time, and then I turn on the light and it goes, and they're like, ah! And I'm like, I'm sorry. Look at the comedian, but not at the light. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's wild. Have you talked with Evan Rons about when he did the roast battles in there?
Yeah, no, we haven't talked about that, but I did hit him up about what's going on with roast battle. And we're doing it on the 25th. Yeah. So he did hit me up about that. But no, he hasn't talked to me about stuff at Safe House. It
was set up. The space used to be different. So all those barrels that they have in there didn't used to be in there. It used to be a much bigger space.
Okay.
And so he used to have everybody kind of like against the door to the patio, so that also nobody would go out on the patio during the show. And then like the judges would be kind of off to the side like this, and then everybody kind of sat in big like circles like this, which is just like a completely different way to use the room. And you cannot do that now with the way the barrels are set up. You have to do everything exactly where you have it set up. So I don't even know what I would even say.
Well, I like the way that it's set up because it's easily congested.
And you can see it from the door too. Like you can be like, oh, stand-up's going on tonight.
Yes, I like that you can see from the outside on both the patio and coming in. And I just like that it's easily congested. So, like you were saying earlier, everyone's packed in together. Laughter travels better. And honestly, from a very a vanity point of view, it just looks cooler. And there's like there's a good amount of people, but like it makes 40 look like 70, like that.
We had really high standards for the pictures we took in the old dry heat because one empty seat made it look like, oh, nobody can. And you're like, no, look, it's full all the way around. But people would look at the picture and be like, there's an empty seat.
Wait, say it again. What happened?
Like, we would take pictures from the side of the stage of, like, Tyler performing or whatever. It's, like, one of my favorite pictures of him. And we used him in a lot of ads. Him performing to this crowd, and the crowd laughing. Like, we wanted really hard to, like, wait till he was saying something, and they were all laughing at the same time. Because that's really what you're trying to show in your ads. More than any of the performers who are going to be on the show or anything, you want to show the audience what they can expect when they get there.
Right. Laughter is happening here.
Look, do you want to be happy? Do you want to be happy? What can make you happy? But like,
does anyone really want to be happy when you ask them?
I think so. But like, yeah. So then we like any pictures that even had like 2 or 1 or empty seats in the front row, which is the hardest row to seat.
Well, in a venue like that, I remember. I mean, I did that spot one time for Zach's last show there, and I was obviously very happy to be there. But I remember
the Mark Norman one.
No. Oh, yes, it was. Yeah, and I missed it. I fucking missed it. So, because what happened that night was because I was on the early show and we got my buddies came. We were great. We're done, whatever. And I went and I just hung out with them and we're just having a couple beers at my buddy's place, chilling. And then I open up Facebook and I see Steph with Mark Normand. And I'm like, oh, what a nice flashback picture. And I see the caption that says, crazy drop-in tonight. I'm like, the fuck there was. And one of my buddies that I was with, a huge Mark Normand. Like, he's his favorite. And I'm like, and he came to my show. Yeah. And I was like, hey, man,
if we had just waited.
I'm so sorry. Yeah. And he's like, what the fuck? I'm like, well, none of us can drive. Right. So, oh, well. But yes, that was, and I remember walking out and just being taken off guard. Because I'd been there before, but I'd sat in the front row, but I didn't like understand how close that was. So I remember I'd walked down and I forgot what the fuck I said, but like I had like squatted down when I did it. And we were so close. There was a girl and like her husband or her boyfriend or whatever. I smelled both her perfume and his cologne.
Yes.
We were like that. I was like, oh, fuck. So anyway, so you're able to take pictures and... Yeah,
so we would just always wait for like full front row. Everybody's laughing. Get a good spot from the side. Yeah. And then that you knew that was like that was it. So what I'm trying to say is like, yeah, everybody... I mean, I think that's... If people are being like catty on the internet between producers and people who run things, they love to like look at the picture that you take and go, I'm being people there. Like whatever. They'd be like, yeah, there were a lot of people. I guess it was pretty packed. I get it. You know, like, and it's just like,
well, because I mean, everyone has their off nights, and there's not a whole lot of people there, and I mean, shit fucking happens, and that's like one of the things that really like honestly makes me scared because me and AJ have talked about like, okay. We have a lot of people, and it's not from like a monetary standpoint because we get paid out from the block.
The block, Tuesdays.
From the block over on Tuesdays, and then now that we're doing stuff at OTs, we're getting paid from there.
Nice.
But all of them, like me and him, we don't get paid. Like we don't pay ourselves. Like we pay the comics, and then we have like this piggy bank full of money. Wherever like what
to build with.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out what to do with it. Like, are we going to do like a really big show somewhere and put it into marketing, and then like pay for a headliner to come in? Do we buy if there is better equipment that we need? What equipment can we buy? Whatever. But to help expedite those kind of things, where it's like, well, how much of this is because people like us and want to come see our shows and rely on our shows being great consistently? Because finally, I'd say over the last like. If I'm being realistic, 3 months at Safe House or so, they've been consistently really good. 3 to 4 months, just really, really good. And I'm like, well, how much of that is because they're actually coming because they know us and they like us and all that? And then how much of it is because it's free? Yeah. And then
or that they love Safe House.
Then like Safe House, right. So then it's like, what happens if we cross that threshold and we're like, $5 ticket at the door? Yeah. $10 ticket at the door. I'm worried that we'll start diminishing crowd sizes.
We did a thing when I was doing the old box shows a long time ago where we printed a bunch of business cards and we handed them out as people were leaving. And we said, if you bring this back with a friend, you get in for free. And so then we literally had the exact number of return people every single week because it was how many people brought those cards back for us. And it stays free for the people who expect it to be free. They're bringing a paying person, and then all of a sudden, like, there is a little bit more of, like, and then you don't pass those cards out every time, but if they both had a good time and they come back anyway, then now they're both paying, and then you kind of are able to kind of build it all up.
You're actually tracking an ROI almost.
And you can do that with, like, flyers, too. Like, if you have the little flingity-flingies on the bottom of it, and you're like, bring this back with you, and we'll give you something, or we'll enter you into a drawing, or whatever it is.
Is flyer posting legal in Albuquerque?
It is, but not on public property. You have to do like community boards and stuff like that, or like ask. My favorite thing to do is ask food trucks. Like if a food truck will like put it up around their thing, then like they drive around and then like they get seen by a bunch of people. But you just gotta ask the business, or if they've got a community board, you can put it on the community board. But if you print the flyers in different colors and you know which colors are in what spots, you know exactly where that person saw that flyer, and then you know to like triple down on whatever it is happening there.
That's really fucking smart.
And then honestly, if you just have somebody who's working the door to say like, how'd you hear about this? How did you hear about this? Then they will always say like, oh, actually I saw a flyer at blah, blah, or they'll be like, actually, we're just here because we live Safe House, or you'll get the action and then have them write it down. And then every time you'll get a chance to get that information too. But
interesting. I think I'm going to stop having a pre-show cocktail and start being a door guy at my own shows.
Yeah. How'd you hear about this? How'd you hear about this? Yeah.
That's really fucking smart. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, that's just free game right there. That's really good. So you move into the box, start getting settled in, and because by the time the 29th rolls around, is it like a little over a year or so?
So we moved into the box. Really, it was like April 1st of last year, because I always think April Fool's Day should always have something cool going on it. And then in June we celebrated the 3rd year anniversary, and it's like end of like the last week of June is always like when we do it. And then that's when we bought Carlos, who's the giant cow piñata that's backstage. He's huge, and he was $100. And
you spent $100 on a piñata?
I sure did. Noah.
Why?
Because we met the man who made it, and he had a very important story to tell us. And by the end of that story, we were like, "We'll take your $100 piñata."
So, are you big into horror movies?
I am.
Okay, so there's a really good one you should check out. I want to say that it's free on Tubi.
Oh, okay.
Tubi or Amazon. It's shockingly good. Like, shouldn't be on Tubi. Very good. It's called The Coffee Table. It's a I want to say it was made in Mexico.
Cool.
Yeah, it was in Spanish. Mm-hmm. And it's a horror movie, but it's more like suspense, because it's about a couple that buys a coffee table, they bring it home, and something like the worst nightmare for a couple happens involving the coffee table.
Sure.
And it's in the...
He doesn't use a coaster.
It's the wife's worst nightmare. Yes. But it's like 30 minutes is the build up, and then the hour that's left in the movie is the husband avoiding telling his wife what happened, and then his brother and his wife come over for a lunch, so it's hiding it from all of them.
Oh God,
it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
But I bring it up because in that first 30 minutes when they buy the coffee table, the salesman is just selling them on this ugly fucking coffee. This not saying the piñata is ugly, but this elaborate story on how important this coffee table is. And then they're finally like buying it, and the wife goes, "Do you have this in your house?" And he goes, "No." It's like, "No, it's ugly."
Yeah.
Thank you for your purchase.
Why would I do that? Yeah.
Great fucking movie. Yeah. Anyway. So you're there for, let's just round up and say a year. Yeah. Were there new challenges with the space like that? Because I mean, not every prayer is going to get answered with just with switching over. But like, were there new challenges with moving into a space like that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the best part,
I'm genuinely interested in the business side of all this.
I know, and so the best part is, I would easily walk into a partnership with Doug and Kristen all the time, because they have lasted for so long. They do such good stuff for the community. They are they know everything about like theater and all that kind of stuff too. They're experts in their field, and they're kind, good people. And so going into this partnership, it was like, hell yeah, this is the best case scenario you can ever have with a partnership. It is still a partnership, and Kelly and I move weird. Like, we just, because she's my wife. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, we can make a decision without saying anything out loud. Like, we literally are on the same page about everything, and we move fast and we do things. And so having to now include 2 more people in that conversation just always is going to be like just a very different flow of everything. And so and also we shared the schedule, because they teach classes and they need the space for classes. They have like other things that need it. And so like navigating that too, like it's so different having your own space versus like now really, really sharing it.
Like having a roommate.
Yeah, it is a lot like having a roommate. And so there was just stuff like that I think for me and Kelly, we were like, we had a hard time adjusting to that. And then also because the comedians here in town do work so hard and are so talented. The more spaces we got in town, the more spread out everybody was. And so where before it was a little bit more of a community space to have dry heat, it became much more of like we have to do a show. And so it's like, well, who's doing the show? And then it'd be like me and Kelly doing the show. Like and it would just be the 2 of us, and then like whoever we could like. And so like that alone also kind of became like a thing where we were like, well, good. I mean, that's what you want. That's the whole point. And so, and when I say, I think I said it earlier too, it's like me and Kelly are gap fillers. Like all we wanted we wanted a club here because we didn't have a club here. We want to help out with the festival because Albuquerque deserves a comedy festival. We want to help out where we can help out because that's what Albuquerque needs, and that's what Albuquerque comedy needs for everybody to grow and extend and whatever. And so really by the time it was like New Year's and the Hyenas was in their final talks of it, we were like, there's no gap here. We don't need to be doing this. We don't need to be like stressing ourselves out or worrying about money, because at that point too, I quit my day job to run Dry Heat pretty much full time, and then taking on little jobs here and there, like helping out with some administrative stuff at Arts Hub, and then doing the social media for Launchpad, which was also part-time, but it still wasn't the same. And it just was like, well, I know what the next thing is. I know exactly what the next thing is. And it's that all of these comedians need to get regular stage time in a really big market. And like, we still have our entire network in New York. We still have a place to live in New York. We still have everything we need to do in New York. So I was like, if we go to New York, people can come out from here and they have an immediate comedy contact that can get them stage time. And so I was like, well, that's an immediate gap. And so then we just were like, well, then we talked with the staff I think we talked with them in December that this was going to be the plan. And then we talked with Doug and Kristen that this was going to be the plan. And then we just kind of like spread the news about it as the junctures came up. And then we made the Facebook thing about it, I guess like 2-3 weeks ago maybe. And then just finished getting all the booking and everything in there, and then started just sunsetting everything, I guess, to move on to the next project. But.
Right, and that makes sense. I guess the only like challenge I would have to that is, and because I see the logic, and clearly you have future ventures in New York, and that's very awesome. You have your startup that you're helping out with and all that, and having that hub. I kind of figured that you were going to say that you had that hub to go back to in New York since you already built your roots there, and having like that's super important. It's not shocking at all. But I was having this conversation with my chick a couple nights ago, and then a couple of like local comics, and obviously I'm biased, but we do have some high quality bar shows here.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a difference in getting your time in, getting your reps in, and getting your feet wet in an actual club setting. And I mean, Kurt just did Hans Kim, and that was a great fucking show.
Yeah.
And Josh, he's gonna go up and do Cactus Tate this weekend, which is well deserved. I just hope, and maybe this is a more of a dream than it is a hope, but I do hope that Hyenas kind of like does like an open mic.
Oh yeah.
Or that Casadas and it's a bit of a drive, just where they can maybe pick up the slack for the locals.
Yeah.
And I don't have a whole lot of faith that they're going to do that.
Yeah, but okay, so here's the deal too about when you want to say things like get your feet wet at a real club or whatever, like you'll get a more any other city experience by going and just showing face at Hyenas and going and showing face at Quesadas, and then going to the other mics that exist as they exist, than you would by having a place like Dry Heat, because we're like a community utility more than I think we were a business even. Like I said, we've never ever made money. Making money was never really the goal. It was always just to stay open and to give everybody opportunities to grow however they wanted to grow.
Well, I was gonna say, like, I don't know if you're giving yourself enough credit for what Dry Heat did. To be honest,
I don't know about that.
Well, no, because it was a real club setting, and
it was a very, very good, very specific kind of theater. It was a theater. Right. It was like for sure. But comedy theaters are real things too. So I don't take away from any of that. But I think, it's nice to have an audience that's there on purpose versus like before we had Dry Heat, every show was an ambush show. Every show you have to tell people like, hey, comedy's happening. Either finish up your drinks or stay. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and so it's nice it is nice to know that the people who are there for the exact thing you've brought to purvey. Like,
watching people get trapped into a comedy show at a bar is quite funny.
It is really
by
funny.
the way. It is quite funny. Or like or the awkward moment. I mean, it's kind of established. I mean, it's very established now, like at Red Door, but like at Brew Lab, like watching Jake tell people, like, "Hey, we're about to do an open mic.
We're getting started here. We're getting started. Grab a drink, sit back, relax. Yeah, exactly. Like the same. It's the same spiel every time.
Get ready to hear some of those horrific shit you've ever heard in your life.
Because they're practicing. Yeah, that's the other thing too. Is like when I host an open mic, I'm like, this is practice. This is practice. If you want to see really good stuff, you got to go to the shows. Anyway, but. Yeah, so there's that part of it too, where it's like that is a really cool thing. And when we were in the old space or whatever, it was really nice to we could be open for anything. Do you know what I mean? Like if people were driving through town and like they were like, it's a Wednesday, I'd be like, we're open on a Wednesday. Fine, it's fine. Come on through.
Right, yeah.
Or it'd be like, we need a place to have a Christmas party or something like that. Then we'd be like, okay, come on over, people. Or I have masterclass, and so there was one day that we literally just put on the 6-hour Steve Martin masterclass, and people could sit and watch it as long as they wanted to, and we just showed the whole thing all day.
Was it good? The
It's great.
Steve Martin one?
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Well,
I've watched it 3 times now.
I had like a trial to it, and I just made the wrong decision, but I looked up stand-up, and I started watching the Judd Apatow one.
Oh yeah, that's about screenwriting.
Yeah,
Well, he talks about stand-up in it.
because I was under the impression it was stand-up,
Yeah.
and then the only stand-up stuff that I got out of it was like, you did pretty all right, and then you became a movie maker.
Yeah.
Like, what did I learn?
No, the Steve Martin one is 1,010% laser focused on stand-up. And so it's really great.
I will say, though, I bought, I haven't finished it, but I bought Judd Apatow's Sicker in the Head, and I've read bits of chunks of interviews from it, and I read the John Candy one.
Oh, man.
And reading that is just, because I grew up on his movies, because my dad, not a very good person, he showed me his movies when I was a kid, and I'm just reading, I'm like, fuck, man, that's Uncle Buck.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just fucking heartbreaking. Well, this is a little bit off subject, but like, with stand-up being such a huge part of your life, what did you grow up watching?
Oh, man.
Like, what type of comedy like really like spoke to you as a kid?
So my family watched Comedy Central like together as a family, which is a very different experience than watching Comedy Central as a middle schooler with your friends.
That's where I was.
Yeah, right. Everybody goes to that too. I became that also. But so we watched. I mean, I watched Margaret Cho's stand-up like live or what, like her little 30-minute Comedy Central one. I watched that one a lot, and she had a really funny joke that I still think about today. That I think it's like the best misdirect I've ever heard, where she talks about how her friend was on a bus and Prince got on the bus and went up to her and was like, "Do you know who Prince is?" And her friend was like, "Yes." And he went, "Good." And he got off the bus. And so then Margaret Cho says, like, that's how famous I want to get. I want to be so famous that I can get on a bus and walk up to a girl and be like, "Do you know who Prince is?" It's such a simple, it's good. And then like, it's such a simple joke. I think about it all the time. It's such a funny joke. So we watched, I think I watched Maria Bamford with my brother. We both thought she was really weird and funny and amazing, which she is. And then like in high school and middle school and all that stuff, that's when we started watching, that's when Dane Cook came around. And I listened to his album every road trip. It was an easy way to just shave an hour
Vicious
off
Circle?
the road trip. Yeah. And, yeah, Vicious Circle. No, not Vicious Circle. The one before it. The Slippery When Wet. Or no, that's not what it's called. It's Vicious Circle is the one he's doing in the round at Madison Square Garden. Not that one. The one before it that was black
the
and
one
white.
where he's like holding the microphone. That's the cover of it. Yeah, it's funny. Why I put on. I was like a while back. I was like doing some laundry or whatever the fuck, and I was flipping through HBO. And I was like, oh yeah, Dane Cook. I used to be really. I'm pretty sure I pirated your album. Yeah, I'll put his on. And I don't think people like. Again, I know that he's got. Yeah, a lot of shit for like he's got like a girlfriend that's like 20 years younger than him, and it is what it is. As long as it was legal, it is what it is. People are weird.
That's not what this podcast is about. It's about jokes.
Right, exactly.
So,
But he was like the first real social media comedian.
He made MySpace. I started comedy when you still had to have a MySpace for comedy, and it was the end of MySpace. So people were like, "Really? Do we really need this?" And they were like, "Yes." That is how Dane Cook got famous. And I was like, I think he was already on TV by that point.
Well, if you watch the guy, and it blew my mind because like I remember rewatching Vicious Circle, and the first 15, maybe like 5 to 10 minutes, there really aren't any jokes.
No.
He's just walking out and like he's like, I love lying, and the whole arena is just. And they just lose their shit. It's like, how fucking famous can a guy get? Because before that, arena-wise, you really just had like Dice, and then I'm not too sure who else that was selling out big arenas like that.
Yeah, I guess that's right. I guess that's Chris Rock was doing.
Yeah, Chris Rock. Yeah. Right. Yeah, but I mean, just top of the game guys, and then you have this like young late guy in his 20s, which is insane.
But Vicious Circle was his sophomore album, and if you listen to like any band's sophomore album, like even like Maroon 5's second album, and every album thereafter was terrible. Wait, but the first one is so good.
Which is the one from Maroon 5 that's the gray cover where they're like the main. Yeah, well, like who's the main guy? Adam Levine, right? He's standing, but everyone else like jumping around with their guitars and shit, and it's got Makes Me Wonder on it. That's a good album.
That's okay.
I like that one, and the one that has Sunday Morning on it.
Yeah, I love Sunday Morning. Yeah,
I like that
that's
album.
the first album. That's the
Songs
first
About Jane.
Songs About Jane.
What a great album! I haven't thought about that in years.
Makes me want to meet Jane. You know, But yeah, so that's the same thing with Dane Cook. Dane Cook's first album, really, he had worked every year up until he put out that album. And that's the same thing with every comedian right now who's doing a special and a CD and everything like that, or a CD. They're putting on an album. That's their entire career on that first album. And then they immediately have to follow it up with like a year later with the exact same amount of time and stuff or whatever. And it's just never going to, it's very, very hard.
Well, it's a weird amount of pressure. And that's why, I think it's great that YouTube has become so huge for stand-up where people can, they can put out an hour-long special, but they can also put out these 30-minute specials or whatever it is. But because it's kind of waning for me now, but at the time when he put it out, I think last year, I was a big David Lucas fan off Kill Tony. And then he put the 30-minute special out, and I was like, I kind of wish you left this in the oven for a little bit more, changed it a little bit. Because it was just him vaping and roasting people.
Well, sure.
And I was like, all right, I get that's your thing, but the material ain't great. Fuck.
The vaping.
But
it's so unhealthy.
Talk about it healthy. So I got this can yesterday, but Sunday didn't use nicotine at all. Monday, and I cycled through these like crazy. Yeah. Monday, I had one, maybe, when typically I'm just... Monday night, I'm eating dinner, and I have no idea why, and I'm just getting irritable, and I'm angry. And not angry, but just, restless.
Notable, yeah.
You know? And, at one point that night, my ring finger and my pinky, my left hand went numb for a little bit, and I was like, all right, that's weird. I put on the blood pressure thing. I was like, all right, well, I have good blood pressure. I don't think I'm having a heart attack. All right. Well, I'm eating dinner. I'm getting irritable with the TV. I don't know what I want to watch. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? What have I not done today? I'm okay. This is minor withdrawals.
Yeah.
I think I'm addicted.
You're zinned up. Yeah.
Well, because I've had a fucking tobacco and nicotine in my mouth every day since I joined the military.
Sure.
And then I think that was the longest period that I've had without it. And then we would go out to when I was still in, and we'd have our annual trainings for 2 or 3 weeks. I'd buy a log of Copenhagen.
Oh, sure.
And just take that out with me. I'm not going without. I'm going to be too stressed out. Yeah. This is going to be dumb.
I need this.
And exactly. Exactly. So Monday night I was like, fuck, this might be an issue. So I've hit my quota for tonight, but this is my autistic fidget spinner.
We had a big debate about this at the Red Door, Mike, a few weeks ago, as of this episode coming out. The pocket in the front. Do you ever use the pocket in the front? Or maybe it's in the back. I've never held a can of Zyn, but there's a little pocket back here. Something opens up back
Are you about to show me something different?
It's where you put your used ones when you're done with them.
I thought that was only in the European ones.
I don't know. Somebody had it the other night and showed it up, but maybe they went to Europe recently. I don't know. But there is, for some reason, some little pockety part where you can put your used ones, and we couldn't figure out if it was is it maybe...
I'm over here putting them in a fucking...
Bottle cap
like a Neanderthal. Well, because my buddy,
maybe you push in. I don't know. I don't know the mechanism for it, but
we have my buddy Joey. He's off in Japan, or about to be off in Japan right now for deployment. But cool. he ordered a bunch of Zyn from I think Sweden or something like that, and they had those things where you crack them open. But no, I've never. If it's there, I've never used it, and I don't know how to open it. Yeah. And quite frankly, I think it's too late.
Yeah, that's it. Bottle caps forever. That's
pretty much. So you're growing up, you're watching Margaret Cho, Maria Bamford, a little bit of Dane Cook.
Lots of Mitch Hedberg, lots of Dimitri Martin is also one of those ones that I saw.
Criminally underrated.
I love him so much. His special will have everything you can do with comedy in 1/2 an hour, and you're like, Why aren't we talking about him every day? Like, he does everything. Anyway.
Is he still doing stand-up?
Yeah.
Like, is he still around?
Yeah. He's on tour, like, all the time. And
Good.
like, yeah, exactly. So he's just doing what he likes to do, which is good. And so there's all that. And then I think, obviously, Ellen. I had a podcast about Ellen. Do you know this? Okay, it was called Dwellin' on Ellen. And it was old. It was a long time ago. I was trying to figure out something that I could just talk about by myself, that I knew I could just, like, put out episodes on my own. And I was like, well, I could talk about Ellen. No problem. And so, like, I rewatched her old sitcom. I talked about, like, every movie she's ever done.
She did have a sitcom.
She had 2. And one was better than the other. And then, like...
I didn't know she had 2.
But then we talked about it. I talked about her talk show. I did the whole thing. And then literally, it was so cool because it was like leading up to, like, the big anniversary of that episode where she tells everybody she's gay. And I was like, this is like a neat way to, like, end it, like, on a high note or whatever. And then right around that same time, every comedian started being like, Ellen's really mean. And I was like, what? No, she's Dory.
Well, what year was this?
This was 2000. It had to be 2015.
People knew she was gay by then, right?
Mean. Everybody knew she was gay, but the anniversary was like the 20th anniversary.
The anniversary
it was
of
2017 because she came out on her show when it was in like 97 or something like that.
Right, yeah.
I'm acting like, or something like that. Like, I don't know every single fact about Ellen DeGeneres. Anyway, but anyway, so I was leading up to this, like, this big anniversary and kind of going through, like, this retrospective of her career and her personal life and stuff. And I was pretty proud of it because I was really going in depth about stuff about, like, watching Mr. Wrong. Who's seen that movie? Anyway, and then not even Bill Pullman saw that movie and he's in it. But like, it got really to the point where people, like, all the comedians around me were like, she's really mean, like, really mean. I know people who write for her show. She's horrible to them. And I was like, what? And then I started seeing all these, like, rumors and, like, but even from then until really when it came out, which was only like 2 years ago, that's like a span of like 5 years.
Right.
She was getting away with it and being however mean she was, but it ruined my podcast. So
It ruined
my podcast.
Fuck those writers.
Yeah.
My podcast.
Dwelling on Ellen was what?
So what? Because what were the, like? Were they ever actually, like, solidified as, like, a thing? Or was it just so much bad PR?
Yeah.
That she kind of just, like, got, like, hustled out of Hollywood.
That was pretty much what it was. And,
okay.
Like, yeah, she just, there was things where it's like she threw things at people and, like, like,
shit.
big time and bad celebrity stuff. It's just regular, but, like,
yeah.
I
wonder, well, I think about that sometimes, and I wonder how much of it, because obviously because I'm a dork, the analogy that I use is in the first Captain America, the night before he goes under the serum, and the doctor tells him, you're not a perfect soldier, you're a good man.
Yeah.
And this serum it enhances the best parts of you. And when given to the wrong person, because I forget who, like, the foils the Captain America was on the soldier side of things in that movie, but it's like, why is it not going to be that guy? I'm like, well, yeah, he's selfish, he's this, that, and the other. I wonder if the proverbial, like, super soldier serum in our real world is money.
Yeah.
And when given to the wrong people, it doesn't change them. It just enhances everything that's actually about them.
Yeah, I think that's true.
And then when the good people get money, you rarely hear about all the good things. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder, and again, because a celebrity, even before social media, they're under such this huge spotlight, and they're elevated to a status of whatever. And for better or worse, they are. But now with social media, every single part of their life. I saw some stupid fucking headline about Ben Affleck 3 days ago, where, like, I guess he told his son, "It's like, you want $6,000 sneakers? Well, I've got the money, but you're broke. You got to work for it." Or it's like, well, to me, that's good parenting. But then to other people, like, well, he shouldn't be treating his son so poorly. And it's like, okay, well, I guess that's opinion too.
Yeah.
But so many people get put under these spotlights when they get money. Or is in general they get money, or they go viral, like that fucking stupid Hawk Tuah bullshit. And then so now it's like, well, I just wonder if, like, that was in a case study like Ellen, I wonder if that was always in her, or if it's just something did change with money.
Did you watch the Dark Side of Comedy on Vice?
I've seen episodes. Like, I saw the one about Farley.
Uh-huh.
I saw the one about Dice. I really like the one about Dice.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to
fascinating.
I'm not going to pretend to be the biggest Dice fan in the world. But I've always known about him, and, like, I've seen like the clips from like Dangerfield and all that stuff. But I had never seen that clip of him on maybe it was Carson. I forget what late night talk show he's on, but where he just starts getting emotional and he's like, I just wanted to make people laugh.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry for offending people.
I bet it was Letterman.
Maybe it was Letterman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, Johnny Carson would never let him get like that.
Yeah, Carson doesn't make sense for that one. Yeah, it was Letterman. And I
don't know, though. So if you're watching, put it in the comments.
But I had never seen that. So this was of a guy that has like that big persona and that big, the dice man. You know, but yeah, I've seen episodes of that, and I was fascinated by it.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, yeah, there is an episode about Ellen, and they say so much of it was just about her being a super perfectionist, and like even during her sitcom, because she was like, I think there were a couple years where she was up against Friends, like it was her show against Friends, and it was like they have to be as good as Friends, and so she was like pushing people to be like funnier and more and more. This isn't enough, and this isn't like, but it was all stuff that she was doing to herself that then just was like leaking out. So I think she just on the inside is just like more, no, like, and just it spills out and throwing things at people. And
well, you know, well, that's a real projecting is a real human problem. And I'm not gonna say that I don't do that, but like I used to have a real issue with that. Certainly, like my late teenagers, getting into my 20s, and mushrooms helped kind of wrap a lot of that up, or it kind of made me realize, like, oh yeah, hey, a lot of this is kind of bullshit, and I just treat people well, be the best person you can be, and I don't know, try to be happy, I guess. But yeah, that's a real human problem where people just like they have these insecurities and they have these, whether it's from growing up or traumatic things that happen to them, or just whatever's going on to mold the clay that eventually becomes their brain. And they start, because I mean, I certainly have these things in my own life where like I see things in the world and I'm like, well, that matters to me over this thing. And they're all arbitrary to a point. But then, yeah, you amplify that by tens of millions of dollars. And then your competition is the biggest sitcom ever. Because I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Friends, but like,
people were.
Yeah, everybody. I don't know what's a bigger sitcom than Friends. Like, because I mean, it's been
maybe Seinfeld.
Yeah.
But then she was never up against Seinfeld. It was like, you know what I mean? So it was like,
that probably would have fucking killed her.
Yeah.
Being up against another stand-up comics, fucking.
See, she would have never gotten in that car and never gotten coffee. You know what I mean? Never forgiven.
See, and I get a lot of shit. Lately from Jake Otero and Tyler Lovely, because I'm not I tried watching Seinfeld.
Oh.
Could not get into it.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why. I was always like, I watched maybe 8 episodes out of the first season, and I was just more interested in the smaller friend.
Oh, yeah.
Than I was Jerry.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but that was just my thing.
I watched it when I was really little because my parents watched it, but I've never really felt the need to revisit it. I'm not going to do a podcast about rewatching it, I'll tell you that. But there's plenty. There's lots of Seinfeld's podcasts out there, but yeah. But going back to your point too about money magnifying a person, like,
yeah.
You hope for a Dolly, you know, like Dolly Parton.
Yeah. Don't we all?
I mean, that's what you would hope for. Like, you're like, here's a bunch of money. And she goes, well, I think kids should read. And, well, would you guys like a roller coaster? I'll get you one of those. And, well, I'll make a cake mix if you guys will buy that.
Yeah. Yeah, you wish for like a Dolly Parton or like a Robin Williams or this is a very common drunk conversation me and my friends have, but it's like the top 5 people you wish aren't pedophiles.
Yes.
And like, fuck, if I hear anything about like Robin Williams, Jack Black, Weird Al, my life is done.
Yeah.
Like, that was a big, like, obviously it's not in my act at all, but like a big comedic influence on me growing up was Weird Al.
Yeah. Oh man. Still.
That dude just does not give a fuck.
He's so great. Did you watch the movie with Daniel Radcliffe? It's so good.
Beautiful.
It's amazing.
It's beautiful. Because I thought it was actually going to be like a funny, but like a biopic. And then when it just spirals into all the like UHF stuff, and then there's the scene where they're doing another one rides the bus.
Yeah.
And there's just a bunch of different famous people from different eras
that's my favorite
all
part.
at the party.
Like a Pee-wee and like, oh God, it's so perfect. Everything about it.
Yeah, great.
So good. This is also off topic now. But there is a series of YouTube videos that are like mini documentaries about all those people from that time. So you can watch the Pee-wee one, the Ernest one about Leslie Nielsen, and it's like so cool to like get caught up on like concentrated chunks about their career and everything.
Leslie Nielsen, that's a guy, like, obviously I first found out about him because of the scary movies and like Airplane and all that stuff. Like, I'm sad those movies aren't like, I know they're making a new one with the Wayans brothers or the Wayans family, and thank God those are the ones doing it. But I'm sad that those movies died off, and I get why they died off, because the mid 2000s versions, like, and I mean, me and my chick, we got stoned one like Sunday a couple weeks ago, and we watched Vampires Suck.
Oh yeah,
and that's such a horrible movie, but it's hilarious. And but like stuff like that, and like Meet the Spartans and Date Night, I get why they killed the franchise. I'm a little impartial to superhero movie. I think that movie's just comic gold. But
I like not another teen movie. That one's I really love that movie.
Oh my, because that's the one with Chris Evans.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
See, that's the movie.
He does the Varsity Blues thing with the whipped cream, and then he's got the banana. I think that's so funny.
One of the best parts of that movie is he's walking down the hallway, and he sees the trophy case with his picture in it. And it's perfect.
He does it exactly. That is like shot for shot exactly how Freddie Prinze Jr. does it. Where he even like fixes his look in his own picture. And then he goes to the next one, and it's the picture of him looking at the picture in the thing. And I'm like, that's such a perfect joke on this like thing that was a real homage to something that wasn't a teen movie. I love it. I love it so much.
Well, I think what set that one apart was like they actually kind of gave a shit.
Yeah.
They knew exactly what it was going to be. There was no like, we're not going to win an Oscar here. But there's actually some well-written, it's not just all fart, dick, and sex jokes and whatever the fuck. But yeah, I wish those movies would come back. But yeah, I remember just growing up on like Uncle Buck, and like Stripes was a big one for me. I Stripes with my fucking mind, because I always wanted to be in the military, and then watching these jackasses. And that's one of the most, aside from like the parade sequence and obviously the stuff with the RV, just the way those dudes act, that's exactly how the fucking military acts.
Yeah, really. That's cool. Oh, okay.
No,
cool.
it's not good.
No, it will. Yeah, but at least it's nice that it's captured.
Yeah, it's captured very well, but just the idiots that you're surrounded with in the military is actually astounding. It's like, I thought we had a test to get in here. What? What the fuck is going on? But that's just, that movie blew my fucking mind. I don't know. It's very interesting.
What's the least accurate military movie you've ever seen?
Oh, that's a tough one. I mean, the easy answer is The Hurt Locker.
Oh yeah. Because that kind of
Yeah, that's mainly because like, what's funny, and I don't know how real this is, but I remember reading something about how like, and maybe it's just copium from the Hollywood side of things, but like I remember reading this thing a while back where some movies will intentionally like fuck up the uniforms or whatever to make it so that foreign actors couldn't copy our uniforms. But that's a load of bullshit, because you can pull up army manuals on the internet right now that show you how to perfectly put together any kind of uniform for whatever occasion you're supposed to be wearing it for. So I think that's kind of nonsense. But The Hurt Locker, that was kind of nonsense because they're
no lockers. I've never seen it.
Do you know what it's about? Is it about all the EOD guys?
Oh
like
yeah,
bomb,
no, I did. Yeah, I do know what it's about.
Yeah, bomb defusing.
Sure. I was just
I know. Yeah. But yeah, like the uniforms are fucked up, and then like there's a scene where I forget who the actor is, the black guy in that movie, but he's like the
not Jake Gyllenhaal.
no, Jake Gyllenhaal's that's Jarhead.
Yeah.
Jarhead is one of the most accurate.
Oh, cool.
Ones. That is one of the, I mean, granted, I had a deployment nowhere near that, but like the mindset of when you're over there and like there's a, like, have you seen Jarhead?
No.
Okay, so there's a really good.
This is a genre movie that I'm not very familiar with.
So Jarhead's a good movie, it's a war movie, but it's more of like a psychological drama because there's hardly any action.
Oh yeah.
It's all about the mindset of the guys that were over there during the initial surge. And there's a scene where they're all at this forward operating base that has like showers and has like a room where they can all play pool in and stuff like that. And they have like a single like the TV they would bring in for class, right? And one of Jake Gyllenhaal's NCOs, he goes up to him and says, "Hey man, we're gonna go watch The Deer Hunter. This guy's wife sent it to him."
Oh Lord.
Right? Yeah. Well. they pop the movie in and the credits start rolling for Deer Hunter, and it cuts to a home sex video.
Right, because that's what she was trying to sneak it in for him.
Well, no, it was a sex video of the wife cheating on him with the neighbor.
Well, it would have been much nicer if it was a nice prize, like a nice gift.
Yeah, so it's him. It's the wife cheating and then saying at the end, we're getting a divorce.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and so the guy obviously loses his mind. Everyone leaves. He's like starts getting violent. Obviously, they take him out. The whole platoon leaves, and Jake Gyllenhaal, throughout the movie, he's worried that his girlfriend's cheating on him.
Oh, right, sure.
Yeah, and he's sitting there watching the rest of it and like watching a black screen, and his sergeant walks up to him and he goes, "What the fuck are you doing?" And he goes, "I want to watch it again." It's like, "What the fuck is wrong with you? We need to leave. Like, this is wrong." And he goes, "Why? What?" He was like, "What's wrong with you?" He goes, "I want to know what it's like to watch some other guy fuck your girlfriend." And it's like, shit. And there were dudes like that when I was overseas that were
really
whether it was like overseas or even like basic training, dudes were getting broken up with left and right. So that's a pretty accurate one. But yeah, the Hurt Locker, like there's a scene where like the subordinate punches his sergeant in the face over nothing and nothing happens. And just then like the way they show different like command structures working with each other didn't make any sense. And then like
better or worse than Major Payne?
I haven't seen Major Payne. I know.
Oh no!
I've only seen the drill sergeant scene.
Oh, I'll go ask Angel about it because he's ROTC.
Oh my god! Right, right. But yeah, that's it's a weird genre, the military, because it's like I get it. Like you need to make it real. Like you need to make it entertaining. The first and foremost is it entertaining.
Yeah.
If it's just a snooze fest, because I tell people this all the time, like if you want to see your tax dollars, especially now with Doge and everything happening, you want to see your tax dollars getting wasted, go to a National Guard armory during drill weekend.
Yeah.
There is nothing going on and your tax dollars are paying for it.
Yeah.
It is insane. But then also at the same time, like getting it, like Black Hawk Down.
Uh-huh.
That's a really good one.
Yeah.
There's some scenes in there that are fucking stupid. Like there's a part where they're on the training or on the shooting range, and some guy goes up to one of the Delta Force dudes, and he's like, because he's walking around afterwards with his weapons on fire, and it's not on safe, and he's like, "You need to put your weapon on safe. What's wrong with it?" He goes, "I think it's Eric Bana. This is my trigger," and it's like, "Shut the fuck up, dude! Stop it, stop it." You know. But yeah, it's very, very silly.
Like him when he's angry. So.
Yeah. One of the most underrated. It's interesting now that like Marvel's going down the shitter. How so many people are looking back at the older Marvel movies. Like maybe we're a little too harsh on you, Eric Bana and Ben Affleck and Nicolas Cage. And
I saw the Fantastic Four that had Miles Teller in it in the theater.
No, that's bad.
I liked it. I liked it better than the other one with the guy from the Shield. I hated that one.
Even the first one? The second one is dog shit.
No, they're both bad. They're bad. I'm never really fired up by the Fantastic Four as a like
a concept.
Offshoot. Yeah. But, I don't know. I think Michael B. Jordan being Johnny, I thought that was cool.
What I liked the idea of that movie. I think the casting was spot on. I mean, I totally buy Miles Teller if they would have like kept that going. Mm-hmm. I buy him being simultaneously the smartest guy in the room and just a really asshole-ish person. Mm-hmm. I buy that. Yeah. But just everything around it, and then Josh Trank, the director, he was like, "Yeah, they ruined my movie and they butchered it and this and the other." And at the time, people were like, "Oh, fuck off." Mm-hmm. But everything that we learned afterwards with other movies getting butchered like that, like with Suicide Squad and with Justice League and all these other, it was like, oh, maybe he had something to it. But I don't know. A part of me wants to be excited for the new Fantastic Four because it looks okay. The suits look good to me, but again, I'm a dork.
It seems like I like the concept. Like aren't they like couching it in an era? Like it's not present day.
I don't know. Like I don't know if it's like the regular universe in the past or if it's just like a separate universe and they have to come in. Who the fuck knows? But I just saw the new Captain America and it was so boring. Yeah, it was so boring.
I liked Agatha. I loved WandaVision. And so I knew I was going to like Agatha because I like anytime that Marvel's going to do something that's like weird. Like I want to see like a take on the form much more than just like storytelling that comes out of the straight out of the comics or whatever. Yeah. So that was cool. But
I never watched Agatha. I watched WandaVision. I loved it up until the Ralph Boner shit.
Well, I heard, I know that was tough. I heard that if you like the movie Stripes, you'll hate Agatha. So don't watch. Yeah, I read that on like Rotten Tomatoes or something. But
It's called a callback, ladies and gentlemen. That's what a callback is. So now that a little bit back to
let's go back on
a little
topic.
this is what podcast is all about. Now that the couple of weeks towards the end are coming up, how are you? I mean, so I'd hate to say like there's any relief to it, but you were talking about the stress of running a business. Is there a part of it where you're like, we can kind of take a breath now?
A little bit in that, like, I think we talked about this at the beginning. I love stand-up comedy. I love it. I love performing it. I love the people who do it. I love everything about it. And so when you have to get caught up in like the other stuff around it, it makes it so hard. Which is another thing too, where it's like I know now like the focus is so much on making content out of your stuff and putting it up on the internet, and then that's more stuff that gets in the way of it. And it's important because if you want to grow and get seen by people and get picked by industry or whatever, you got to prove that you can do it. But to do all that and run the business and make sure like I don't know, that everything else is taken care of is like it's amazing. And at the same time, like there is a little bit of relief in that I can it's so funny, 'cause me and Kelly talk about this all the time. I cannot wait to go to New York and take a break.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like the only city in
That's a better way to put it.
Yeah. So it's like the only city in the world where nobody is without stress. I'm like, oh, it's going to be a vacation. God.
Well, you can go back to being a performer again.
Yeah.
Like, so.
I'm just a show producer. I like to produce.
I was going to say, I'm sure you're going to go back and produce shows and put on your own stuff. Like, that's so a part of you. I doubt that's ever going to go away. But again, just the business side of things, you get to go back to being a stand-up again.
Yeah.
And there's got to be some kind of breath of fresh air about that.
That is nice. I mean, I will say it has been very cool to there's been things that have happened in my performer side of the career that have like let me know that I haven't completely abandoned any of that. Like when I got Limestone last year, that was a really great indication that like, oh, I'm still a good performer. I can get into festivals. And then like you know, I'm in the Houston Meow Wolf, so I know that like I'm good at auditioning too if I want to do acting kind of stuff. And I'm like,
in the what now?
I'm a character in the story of the Houston Meow Wolf, and like
Meow Wolf.
Yeah.
There was one in Houston.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and there's about to be one in New York, which I'm very excited about.
Nice.
And LA.
Is that all under George R. R. Martin?
He helped them just like get off the ground initially, and he's not really involved in it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but
that's cool. Good for you.
Thanks. But so like those kind of little things would come and go too, and like, or not even come and go, but like it would happen around things, and I was like, okay, well I'm at least maintaining while also creating and that kind of stuff. But it is neat to, I don't know, it's always about projects, and Dry Heat is a project just as much as anything else is, and so we can return to it, we can do something different with it, we can let it go entirely, but that's what making stuff is.
Right.
So.
And I'd imagine too, because Dry Heat, for the 3 years that it's been around, has had a crucial role in a lot of local performers' careers, repertoire, whatever you want to call it. I gotta imagine there's got to be a lot of personal satisfaction in seeing the growth of a lot of local comics, especially like with Casada's opening up and a bunch of us getting books there that came straight out of where you were at. Like, there's got to be a lot of that there too.
Oh, it's cool. It's amazing when people remind me that like they started at Dry Heat or whatever. Like the when we were doing like our mics or those kind of things, it's always like that's really cool. And I think that it's really cool that I don't know, the fact that Writing Circle exists and now it's a project underneath Arts Hub, and so it's fully funded and like Steph gets paid to do it, and like we found a good home for it, and so like,
where's it going to be now?
Oh, so now there's this place called the Carlisle Center for Community and Arts, and it's in Nob Hill, and it's it was Emmanuel Presbyterian Church, but their congregation has shrunk in size and aged that they have now decided that they're turning it over to the community.
Carlisle
and Central, basically. It's like
Wait, what's it called one more time?
It's the Carlisle Center for Community and Arts. I think it's so new because they just decided to do this that it's still underneath Emmanuel Presbyterian Church if you look at it, but it's behind Clown Dog and like Caddy Corner for shopping.
Right. Okay, cool.
And it's so cool. We get to be in the choir room every week, and so it's like it looks exactly like an episode of Glee. Like it looks so identical to one that I need Jared to write like a video sketch about a choir because that room is perfect for it. And it's perfect for writing circle too because everybody sits, and then when it's time for the joke workshop, everybody comes down, and then you're open to feedback, and like it's great. It's gonna be so good. So
That's awesome.
And then yeah, I think everything else is covered though. I mean, everybody's got stuff that they can do, and there's so much of our equipment that is now the community's equipment. So like everybody's got a speaker they can borrow, lights they can borrow, microphones and stuff that are just like floating around that everybody can ask for, and
Nice.
yeah. And I think everybody's set up to keep growing.
And then I forget, maybe it was Carla. Somebody said on open mic there's still going to be shows under the Dry Heat banner. Is that still the plan?
Yeah. Okay. So number one, the first thing we're going to do is this is part of the reason why we called it Dry Heat in the first place is because I wanted to do a show in New York the way that the Chicago comedians do shows in New York. So Chicago comedians who moved to New York have a support system the second that they move there of everybody else who ever lived in Chicago who will put them up, get them things. If they leave a show, they leave it to a former Chicago comedian, and so like it just stays in the like Chicago family. And I was like, if I had that with like Southwest comedians or like Mountain West comedians or something like that, of like all the people like right around our region, and we did that for each other, I could have hit the ground running in a different way, or like I could have had more of a support system. And so I was like, well, we'll do a show like that. If we do a show that's like that, number one, it brings together all of the people who have at least a shared history of a space. It brings together all the people who live out there, who moved away, who want to come and be an audience for something like that. And it guarantees stage time for people from that region who come out to perform. And so I was like, we'll do it. We'll call it Dry Heat because it's hilarious. And then like everybody's got heat, but it's dry. And then I even made the logo before I'd even moved back to like New Mexico or whatever. So I had that like ready to go. And so, but now there's also a whole lot more Denver comedians who have moved out to New York recently. And I've been friends with them by doing things like the Chief Festival and going up and doing mics with them and that kind of stuff too. So I'd love to do a Dry Heat show out there that does achieve all those same goals. And then also because I know comedians who are coming out through, like, you know, especially because like Austin and Denver, people always try to make a run through those two cities, that it should be very easy, even if you aren't booked at Quesadas or Hyenas, to still be able to get up. And so I want to make sure that Dry Heat as a entity can produce shows for those people and produce shows for people here and make sure that same like meshing is still happening. So that is like the vision for that, for the most part. But to keep them both alive and keeping them both like out, it's kind of the same thing, I guess, in a teeny way as Meow Wolf, where it's like, yeah, it started here, but it's like all over the place, and we got it. So,
no, that's smart. No, that's really smart, and I like the more you can connect cities, the easier it'll be for all of that to flourish. Yeah. So that's great. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming back and doing this.
Thanks for having me.
And one thing I wanted to touch on too was so the final day is going to be on the 29th. What time is that?
It's at 7:30.
Okay.
And it is half party, but then because I know how comedians are, it's also stage time. And so people can come, and we've got a thing. It's going to be kind of Riffapalooza-y in that it's like a long line of people, but we've got lots of stuff planned for it, and what we'll do with like with the stage time of that. And so it'll be really, really fun. And it's only set to go till 9:30, but we also have that 9:30 chunk saved, so we could go as late as we want to into the night. But
nice.
Kelly and I leave at 5 a.m. the next morning, so we can't go too late.
God bless. God bless. Well, and I also, because I'm not going to be able to be there on the 29th, because I was talking a little earlier about comedians that have come out of that club now that we're fucking busy. Yeah. Unhinged reached out to AJ and I about doing more shows there because they want to revitalize comedy there. And we're like, what do you guys want to do? And we're like, well, we want to do comedy.
Yes.
So we're going to do that. But I'm not going to be there for the 29th. And I was actually, when I was talking to Tyler about it, I said, yeah, I really want to fucking be there, but I got Kyle Kinane, which is insane. But I just wanted to say, personally, it's a huge fucking thank you for Dry Heat. I know for a fact that I wouldn't be where I'm at right now without your club.
Oh, wow.
Well, no, that's the truth. No, well, thank you. You see that, you fuckers. But no, like between doing it's funny because I think about this and I'm like, I've had more bombs than I've had successes, but the successes that I've had, thank God, it's when they mattered. So The last Zach Abated and Friends at the old club. I mean, I'm never not going to be thankful for you and Zach for that one. And then all the spots that you've given me at Dry Heat over the last year and change. And then that leading into going into the Mountain Gods and Casada's going well. All of that is because of the amount of time that I got at your club. So I could not be more thankful for everything that you've given me personally as a comedian.
Well, let me one-up you and thank you for producing shows and also providing that back to the community. Because really, the more space there is for everybody, the better it is for everybody. Because everybody gets closer to their 10,000 hours, which makes everybody an expert. So
exactly. No, I couldn't agree more. So really, thank you very much for opening Dry Heat, letting it flourish the way that it did. Because I know how much it's helped me, so I couldn't imagine how it's helped everybody else at the top of this comedy scene right now. So
that's very kind.
It's been fucking awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Before we get out of here, where can everyone find you on social media and all that stuff?
It's really important that you follow me on Instagram right now. I'm Sarah K Comedy, so it's Sarah Comedy, but the K is because anyway, it makes so much more sense if you read it than if I ever plug it on a. Do you know what it used to be? It used to be Sarah, like the Triceratops from Land Before Time. So it was CERAK. It was Sarah K. But do you know how hard that is to explain on a podcast? It's very hard to explain on a podcast. So I changed it to be Sarah Comedy, but there's already a Sarah K Comedy. It's another girl named Sarah K something. And we've fought for each other's things all over the internet. I have sarahkcomedy.com, which you could also go to. I got that before her. She beat me on everything else. So sarahkcomedy.com, that'll get you to everything else. But
fuck yeah. Well, thank you again for doing this. And see you March 29th, 7:30 at Dry Heat for the farewell. And then, whenever you're back in town, let me know.
Yeah, for sure.
Sweet. Well, thank you everyone for listening and watching, and we'll see you next time. Woo. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the podcast. If you like what you've seen here, please share it with as many people as possible. Follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, Facebook, Apple Podcasts. Like, share, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. It really does help out the podcast. And if you're feeling extra generous, feel free to subscribe to our Patreon, which I have coming soon.